Okay, so thank you for waiting. We should be recording now, so thank you for your patience. As a summary for the first part of the recording that was missed, today we're going to go through the general overview of the new process. We're going to go through a step-by-step walkthrough of submitting a CIDI ticket. There is a document procedure already posted on the ISO website. I do have a link on the presentation. Rodney as well posted the link into the chat session. And excuse me, also this recording will be posted in the future. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see that we do have our CBT ongoing obligations link. This ongoing obligation is a computer-based training already posted on our Learning Center about ongoing obligations for scheduling coordinators, so you can get more information about that if you want more information. So today we use a lot of acronyms in our training. The slide that we have up is to summarize some of the acronyms that we're using. We have SC for Scheduling Coordinator, CRH for Congestion Revenue Rights Holder, BPM is our Business Practice Manuals, CIDI, CIDI is our Customer Inquiry Dispute and Information, SCID is your Scheduling Coordinator Identifier, BSCID is our Base Scheduling Coordinator Identifier, UAA is User Access Administrator, CBT is our computer-based training. You'll see those links in the presentation. And an org ID is your organizational identifier. So what is an ongoing obligation? Our ongoing obligations are outlined in the ISO tariff section for your ISO agreements that you have signed with the ISO, as well as the scheduling coordinator and our congestion revenue rights holder business practice manuals. And they are continuous changes that impact all of our market participants. These changes include, but are not limited to, banking changes, legal name changes, addresses, resource transfers, SCID or BSCID maintenance and termination. There's also other reasons why you might have ongoing obligations. We do have our computer-based training for ongoing obligations link is also in this presentation link to view in our Learning Center. So currently, why are we changing this process? So the current process is you're going to send us an email with to the SC request with your obligation, your documentation, and it's to a group email box. Some downfalls of the current process is that emails can be overlooked. Once you submit a ticket, you don't know if it has been visible. There's no confirmation that it was submitted unless a person physically sends you an email back. And it's also less secure from an IT perspective. So this new process is going to address the shortfalls of our current setup. It's more secure. A certificate is required to log into CIDI. You'll have direct visibility to your request. You'll be able to see who the ticket's assigned to, communication, where it's at in the process. You'll have your confirmation that it was submitted because you will have a CIDI ticket that you can refer to if you need help with your customer service or a service desk. You can call in, provide them with that CIDI number to get updates. And also it keeps company information in a single location for better customer service. So let's say you submit a ticket and it was like a banking change, and a couple of months down your line, you're like, oh, did I submit that banking change? We can actually go in and look at your customer profile and see that it was already processed. So what is CIDI? For those of you who may not be familiar with CIDI, it's our Customer Inquiry Dispute and Information. It's a central database used for our customer relations. It allows our users to submit questions, settlements, disputes, information requests from ISO subject matter experts. Basically, it's a tool that you can use to get information from the ISO. It's a secured system that requires a login to better ensure customer data. And as of April of this year, you will now use CIDI to submit your ongoing obligation data. So how do you get access to CIDI? Each entity has a user access administrator. This person is in charge of provisioning access to CIDI as well as other ISO applications for your company. If you do not have a CIDI login, you can ask your UAA to provision you access. If you do not know who your UAA is, please reach out to us at SD Request or to your client representative. We will be happy to provide you with their name so you can ask them to provide you with the CIDI access. We do have a computer-based training on how to gain access to ISO applications, and I've also provided that link in the presentation, which again we'll be mailing out after the session. So how do you log into CIDI? You must have an SCID or an org ID and an ISO issued certificate to log in to CIDI. An org ID is an identifier that's different than your current SCID. It's used for applications until a company is certified with the ISO. So for the purpose of today's call, almost everybody will have an SCID because you're a current client. But if we have any people online who are going through the certification process, you will use your org ID. Please email us if that's the case. If you are an applicant, we need to provide you with additional information. So to get to CIDI, you're going to go to our CISO website and click on the portal. We do have a link in the presentation to the portal. It's going to bring up a splash page with all of your access that you have available to you. I didn't show the full splash page because certain participants have different access, but you should see the CIDI inquiry and dispute. I've circled it here on your splash page. You're going to click that to get logged in. After you log into CIDI, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says Submit to Case. You're going to click that button, and you're going to select Onboarding and Maintenance as the record type. It is key that you select this only for ongoing obligations. If it delays, if you route it to a different department, it will send a delay. You won't get a response as fast. So make sure that when you're submitting these tickets, you select onboarding and maintenance. It is the same way you submit a settlement dispute or an inquiry ticket. So when you're submitting those inquiries and disputes, please continue to select the inquiry ticket or the settlement dispute because you want it to get routed to the correct department. So for purposes of your ongoing obligations and maintenance, that's the only reason you'd use this ongoing and maintenance type. So what information goes into a CIDI ticket? You're going to have your SCID, which is you log in, you're going to see a drop down of your SCIDs available to you. If you are in application, you will see an org ID, and you will select it from the drop down list. Next, it's going to ask you what your request type is. You want to select ongoing obligations and maintenance because that's the type of documentation you're submitting. If you are an applicant, you would select applications. Then it's going to ask you what is your inquiry type. We do have a drop down with 6 defined items plus 1 called other, if you're not sure what your submission is defined as. So our inquiry types that we have pre-populated are banking changes, name, address, contact changes, transfers, end dates, information sheets, additional SCID requests, which can also be used as a BSCID request, termination, or other. So a little bit more information on how to categorize your document. If it does not fit in one of those 6 predefined categories, please select other. In that document of how to submit documentation, the link that we provided earlier to you, we do have Appendix A in the document that lists the type of inquiries that you'll be using, as well as the documents provided. On the next slide here, I have a picture of what the Appendix A looks like. You're going to see it's listed documents for inquiry type, banking changes. It'll have a description of what that banking change is used for, as well as the document. So Appendix A is really going to be your friend when you're trying to figure out what to select for your inquiry type. Then you're going to enter in a subject. It's a short description of the submission. It's very brief. And so if you're doing a banking change, you would say it's a banking change for SCID, for example, 0 INT. You would use your own SCID in the subject line that you are going to be using. If you have multiple SCIDs that are impacted by this one ticket, select the parent, which is the first SCID, and all of the other SCIDs that came after it will be listed in the description. The description is a longer section. You'll have up to 32,000 characters to fill in any additional information. It is a text-only field. If you have any graphics that you want to submit they must be submitted as attachments. And so here's where you'll list all of your multiple SCIDs. So if you have additional information, for example, the ISO would like to change the banking information for SCID 0 INT and all the child SCIDs associated, and then you can list all of the child SCIDs in the description field. After the description, the resource ID, it's not applicable to every ticket, so it's not a required field. If you are submitting, let's say, a transfer, an end date, please insert your resource ID in this field. If you are submitting multiple resource IDs on one document, please make sure you list all of the resource IDs, put a comma between them, and also you can list them in the description. The next field will be email recipients. So your email address is automatically default when you submit a CIDI ticket. However, if you have multiple people in your company that need to be kept informed of the ticket status, you can enter their email addresses here. Separate them with a comma. It doesn't matter how many email addresses you put there. We'll send them updates when the ticket is open, when the ticket is closed, so they can keep track of status as well. This slide here just shows you a sample of what the whole CIDI ticket, when you're inputting the information, looks like. So at the top, we have our SCID. Our request type is applications, or it would be ongoing maintenance. Your inquiry type is banking change. Your subject, description, resource ID, and your email recipients. And once all the information is entered into the CIDI ticket, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's going to be a next button. So you're going to click that button, and then it's going to start populating the information. You'll have a slight delay, and your screen may go blank, but if you just wait for a moment, after clicking next, you'll be redirected to a page that shows you what your ticket and case number is. You want to jot down this number as it relates to your ticket. That way, if you have questions, you can log back into CIDI, look for the ticket number, and get updates that way. Let's say you want to add additional information. You submitted your CIDI ticket, you forgot to type something into the description. We have an add comment section to provide additional information. As you scroll down about midway through the page, which we'll see in the walkthrough, you'll see case comments and a little button that says add comment. You will click on that to enter in any additional information that you need to send to the ISO. The ISO could ask you for additional information on your CIDI tickets, and one way to respond is to insert a comment by clicking that add comment button. A lot of, almost all of your tickets will have documents that you need to attach. You can post additional documentation. It's under the comment section, and there's a little button that says upload files. The maximum attachment size is 4.5 megabytes. If you have a file that is larger than that, please email our service desk with your CIDI ticket number and ask them to attach the document to your CIDI ticket. Unfortunately, there is that limitation on sizes for our CIDI, but we do want to get your information. So please just keep that in mind. You can still send it to us. It just sends it through a different way. After you browse and upload your files, you're going to see an attach to case button. Once you click on that, you will see a green pop-up that says success. Your file has uploaded successfully. If you do not see that green success bar, something went wrong in processing, please go back to the upload files section and try uploading again. If you continue to have problems, please reach out to us, your client rep, service desk, or SC request, and let us know that you're having problems attaching documents, and we'll be happy to help you out. So something that's new that you might not have done previously is a naming convention. This is key. These documents are used for audit purposes, and it's very important that you use your proper naming convention. So in our how to submit documentation procedure on our website, we did create an Appendix B that shows you what the document that you're submitting is and the document, how it should be named. So if you find a document that's in the appendix or that's not in the Appendix B and you want to know how to name it, please email us at serequest@kaiso.com and we will provide you with a document naming convention. This slide shows a section of the Appendix B of how it looks. So on the left-hand side, we'll have document of what the document is. So for example, address change form. Our naming convention is going to be your SCID, and the SCID is your personal SCID. Then you're going to select the word address, and then you're going to put the date. The date field is the date that you submit the document. And the reason why we want that date is because if you have to make changes, or let's say you made an error and you want a new revised document, you put the new updated date. So when we're going through our documents, we can see that there is a newer version, and we're going to use the correct, most recent version and not a possibly incorrect, outdated version. So it's very important that you refer to your agreements in place with the ISO, as well as the ISO tariff for required ongoing obligations and responsibilities. You could think of it this way. If you send SC requests an email already saying, please process this change, I need to submit this for my annual obligations, those are the types of things you're going to be submitting via CIDI. So if you need a refresher, your agreement and the tariff will also let you know what those obligations are. So I know that was a lot of information to go over. Again, we will go through a step-by-step guide, but I want to give people an opportunity to ask questions. So either verbally ask a question, type it in the chat. Is there anything that anybody would like to ask right now?
Yeah, Nicole, this is Ann Segisman from PG&E. The date on your documents, is that the date you submitted or the date you want it to be effective?
That'll be the date you submit it.
And on this, your naming convention, can we add some additional description at the end of your naming convention to keep it easy for us to understand what we've submitted to you?
Yes, if it's easier for you that you need to have some additional information, please feel free to add it after the date section. So the SCID, the naming convention and the date, keep that standard, and then do an underscore, and let's say you have a resource ID you want to add, you could go ahead and add that resource ID after it.
And can I ask one other question? I see that you have SCID change dates or change the address. The question I have, does that go into our existing contracts that have a list of people in the existing, like PGA, or do we have to submit that to the regulatory group?
If you are making changes to contracts, such as your Schedule 1, Schedule 5, things like that, that will still go through contracts team. However, if you do submit a CIDI ticket saying, hey, I'm submitting this, I'd like to get this changed, we will coordinate with our internal groups as needed to make sure that gets processed correctly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ann. Do we have any other questions right now? Okay, not seeing any questions in the chat or hearing anybody else speak up. We're going to do our live walkthrough. So bear with me one moment while I get the application up. Please also, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Nicole. I posted a question in the chat to everyone. I'm not sure why it wasn't visible. But basically, my question is, do we receive a confirmation email after we submit a CIDI ticket? You will receive an email from the CIDI system. So those emails, it will have something along the status of CIDI case number, or I don't know exactly how it is displayed to external participants, but you will receive an email confirmation from CIDI, just like you would if you submitted a settlements dispute or an IMS ticket. It'll be the same process. And if for any reason you do not see that email, you can always reach out to us and say, hey, I didn't see my email. Can you provide me with a confirmation? We'd be happy to do that for you. I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Nicole, there was a question on the format of the date. Did we have a preference on how you want the date format?
Good question. For the date format, I'll have to update the document. That's a great question. I would prefer it if you did the 2-digit month, the 2-digit day, and the 4-digit year. So I will go ahead and update our documentation to reflect that date convention. Do we have any other questions? Okay. All right, so just one moment while I pull up the demonstration. Feel free to get a quick drink of water. Give me 1 minute to get this set up, and I'll be right with you. Okay, if someone could please confirm that you can see my Google Chrome.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. The first thing I wanted to show you is where to find that document naming convention on the ISO website, so you're familiar where to get it if you can't find the link. So this is our homepage. Under Participate, under Scheduling Coordinator, you're going to click on that button that will take you to our Scheduling Coordinator webpage. And towards the middle, there's this Find SC Ongoing Obligations, Forms, and Change Notifications. Click that button, and at the top of the page, it says How to Submit Documentation for Applications and Ongoing Obligations. So that is where you will find the reference document and procedure of how to submit these CIDI tickets that you can download and reference at any time. So this screen that you have up, it might look a little different when you log in, but this is our CIDI system. Hopefully it looks very similar to this when you log in. I might have some additional features that you don't just for my access. In the upper right-hand corner here, you see that Submit a Case. That's where you're gonna find that button to submit a CIDI ticket. And the record type, this drop down, this is where you select Onboarding and Maintenance. So for your IMS tickets, you have inquiry or settlements dispute, as well as other options. But for the purposes of our training, it's our ongoing onboarding and maintenance. Then you're going to click Next. And here's where you fill all of your information. So your drop down will have SCIDs. If you have multiple SCIDs, you pick whichever SCID you want. For your request type, this is where you would select ongoing obligation and maintenance. And our inquiry type, this is where you have those 6 options to choose from, as well as the other options. So for illustrative purposes, I'm just going to choose banking change. It is one of the most common changes that we do. And in your subject, you're going to tell us a brief description of what you would do. All right, so you're going to say, here's a brief subject. You would like to change banking information for your SCID. The description, again, this is where you can add in as much information as you like, up to 32,000 characters. So we're going to say something like, please update banking information for SCIDs, and then you can list multiple SCIDs. You can also, you know, if you had, you know, more description saying, you know, please verify all the accounts are the same, make sure they're the same as a parent SCID. That description is really to expand on your subject and give us that more detail that you want us to have. So your resource ID, that's what your resource name is. So whatever your resource ID is, it's usually that unit 1_2_QF, or however you name your resource IDs, please list it there. And again, if you have multiple resource IDs, put a comment and then your second resource ID. And the email recipients, again, that's where you can put additional email addresses if you'd like additional people to be notified about your ticket. And then you're going to click next, and it's syncing, and will pop up a new screen here in a second. Okay, so here's where your city cases will be listed. You can see in the top left portion here, this is your case number and its status is assigned. You can scroll down for your case information. It will have your case number, your status, whether it's assigned, closed, waiting for information. If there's a follow-up date, that happens after we take a look at your information. If we put in a follow-up date, that'll be populated. Your environment, whether it's production or stage, your account name, that should be your entity name that you're submitting your ticket for. And your SCID, this will be the one SCID that you selected at the top. If you scroll down a little bit, here's your description information. So you have your subject that you typed in, your description. The resolution portion will not be populated until we close your city ticket. So that should be blank. If you do see a resolution here, that means that we've finished your ticket. Review the resolution, double check the information that we've completed for you. If there's something incorrect about the resolution or you need additional information, please let us know through the city ticket or send us an email, and we'll be able to either reopen your city ticket or provide you with additional information. Below the description is your detailed information. So here will be your resource IDs if you had multiple resource IDs. Your contact information, this should say your information here. So it should have your name, your phone number, your email. And then on the first page, when we entered in the email recipients, I put my name in here. So those would be the extra email participants that you would like to have information on this ticket. This is system information. This will tell you when the ticket was opened and when the ticket was closed. And here towards the bottom, you see where our case comments are. So remember in the presentation, if I said, oh, darn it, I really forgot to add something in our description. Let's add it now. So you go to the right and you click add comment. And you can say whatever you needed to add the information. So any information that you want us to add, make sure the banking information matches the parent, or please confirm that the banking information is the same. Some information that you need us to know, or a response to one of our questions, this is how you would do it by clicking the add comment. After you're done typing, please click save and then let that process. And now you can see it says created by, name, date, and time. So when the ISO responds to you, you'll see your comment information here, and then you'll see the ISO comments after that. That's where you'll see your case comments, and if we're asking you for information, it will be published right there also. So underneath this case comments, if you want it, you have to attach your documents. So you'll see this button right here. It says upload files. Click on that button. Then you're going to browse to your desktop or your folder, or wherever you need to get your document. You're going to upload the file, and then you're going to click attach to case. Now it's thinking, it's going to wait And then right here up at top, there's that green success, your file has been uploaded button. And also you'll see your document is submitted right here down at the bottom. And if you want to view the file, you can click on view. So that is how you submit a city ticket, how you check your comments, attach files. So that is everything, pretty straightforward. Do we have any questions on this demo, the walkthrough? Do you want me to go through another one? Did you have questions?
Yes, Nicole, there's a couple questions in the chat.
Okay. Let's see, I have to stop sharing real quick to go back to the questions in the chat. Unless, Rodney, would you like to read them for me?
For entities with multiple SCIDs, does it which SCID we select for requesting a new SCID?
It does not matter which SCID you select from the drop-down menu, but in the description, please make sure you list all of your SCIDs to make sure we capture all of them correctly.
When CISO adds comments, will the city status change from assigned to some other designation?
Not when you submit a comment. So the status will be changed if the ISO changes it. So it will be assigned. That means that we're working on it, or it will be closed. If we need to ask you for information, it might say waiting for client response. So those are the three main statuses you'll see on your city ticket.
For additional SCID requests, you should select, when you're selecting your the SCID for the case, it would be good to select your parent SCID, for which the additional SCID would be the child of. And that would be the parent SCID that you're putting on your SCID request letter. So that would be the best, to make sure the parent SCID matches the parent SCID on the letter to the city case.
Thanks, Tish.
And we have a couple more questions. Would we use CIDI for the annual financial security letter?
At this time, still submit your annual financial obligations to Christina or the finance team. In the future, if that does change, we will put out additional communication as such. So this process is strictly for anything that you would send to SC requests at CISO.com email normally.
And additionally, how do I find out which SCID is the parent SCID?
Your parent SCID, whoops,
Go ahead.
Your parent SCID is usually the first SCID you ever got being established with as an SC with the ISO. And that's the SCID that you would see as where all the collateral flows up to in credit management systems. And if you don't find it there or you're not sure, just send an email to SC request and we can look up your parent SCID for you.
All right, thanks, Tish. Do we have any additional questions?
There is a request to go through an example of a settlement dispute if you have time or the way to do that.
Unfortunately, I do not work with settlement disputes. The only thing I can say is when you log into the city case, select settlement dispute from the drop-down, and you would fill out the information just like you would for this ticket by putting in your SCID, resource ID, and those required fields. So unfortunately, I can't go through that step by step, but the process should be very similar, if not the same. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I'm not hearing any other questions. I'm going to stop sharing my Chrome and we'll go back to our presentation. So that was our demo today. before we move forward, are there any other questions that haven't been answered about the documentation, naming convention, the procedure documents, anything at all? Okay, not seeing or hearing any additional questions. I do appreciate your time in walking through this process with me. I hope that today's training was helpful. We do have a link to our survey. 5 minutes. Rodney will post the link to the survey in the chat. If you could, please do that. Let us know how we could improve the training. If you have additional items that we could document for you, let us know in that survey. For more detailed information on anything presented today, you can go to our website or send an email to screquest@caiso.com. I will stay on in case there are any additional questions after you complete the survey. Please feel free to log off. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great day today.